I had previously added a reverb to my mix as a placeholder, just to add a little bit of ambience. Once I was done with the dynamics and EQ, I went ahead and tweaked my reverbs. Now I'm using 3 reverbs on this track. Let's go check them out. I have a plate reverb here, and then a long reverb, and a gated reverb. Let's listen to a verse and a pre-chorus real quick to have an idea of what these sound like.
Getting numb from people around. Need to get rid of this sickness. I'm getting confused all the time. Wish you best from deep inside. I begin to think before I say hi. Would you like to give me a warm hug? I would like to, but
Let's dive into these different reverbs, and I'll start with the long reverb. This one here. This is actually the scratch reverb I used at the beginning of my mix. Then I decided to use it as my long reverb. It's a hall type reverb. I'm using this only on a few tracks for special effects, I should say. One of them is the intro for the spoken words. Let me go find that track. There it is. I'll play it for you in solo mode, and I'll also tweak some of these settings, then we'll take it from there.
Once, this was a peaceful place, until one day, it all went out of control, out of control, out of control, out of control.
Now without the reverb.
Once, this was a peaceful place,
With the reverb.
until one day, it all
In context.
went out of control, out of control, out of control, out of control, out of control.
This reverb has 2 reverb time settings separately for bass and mid frequencies. I turned them up just a little bit to exaggerate the tail of this reverb. I'm also using this long reverb, hold reverb, on the outro vocals. Let's hear them as well. Let's hear it soloed, with and without the reverb.
You gotta never make it.
Now
Yes,
without.
you already did it.
With.
You gotta never make it.
This big and intense reverb helps me distinguish these ad-libs from the main vocals in the last chorus. The only other track I'm using this long reverb is the electric piano. Let's hear it.
I begin to think before I say.
Without the reverb. With the reverb. It has long sustained chords, and reverb adds some thickening to this electric piano sound. Next, let's talk about the plate reverb, which is shorter than this one. I am using it on quite many tracks. Let me open the plugin window. This plate reverb. I started with a preset called vocal plate, and it came with the large setting, which gave me a reverb time of 2.1 seconds. I changed this to medium, which felt better, with this slightly slower reverb time at 1.6 seconds. The other change I did on this reverb setting is I added some pre-delay for 20 milliseconds for extra clarity and intelligibility on the vocals. Let's hear this and focus on it in the verse vocals.
Getting numb from people around.
Now soloed
Getting numb from people around.
without.
I need to get rid of this
With.
sickness out. Getting confused all the time. Wish you best from deep inside.
You will notice that even with this reverb, the vocals are kind of dry at this point, because I'll be adding delay in addition to the reverb. I use the same short reverb on the snare drum tracks and the claps. Let's hear them real quick. Here's the dry snare, and here's the wet version. There's a second snare track without the reverb. This second snare already has its own reverb baked in, and I'm adding a little extra. And then there's the claps in the pre-chorus section
To think before I say hi. Would you
without
like to
reverb.
give me a warm hug? I would like to, but I really can't. 'Cause the world is
On percussive instruments like this clap sound, reverb gives me some additional fatness and body to the sound. Lastly, I set up a gated reverb for the tom-toms, and it's here.
1 second.
Let me play it soloed without the reverb, with the gated reverb, and in context.
1 second. Got no clue.
Note that this send on the tom-toms follows main pan. This orange button here, FMP, stands for follow main pan. It means the reverb will follow the panning of the source track. At this point, it's useful to mention that I equalize reverb returns. Let me show you what I mean by that. So here's the plate reverb. Right after that, in the next insert slot, I have this EQ plugin. Same thing, the whole reverb followed by EQ filters, also for the gated reverb. You will notice that I'm using a high-pass filter and a low-pass filter in these EQs. This helps me avoid any low-end buildup and the extra brightness caused by the reverb effect.